Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's weather outlook for the southern region, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We'll just take a look back at the last 3 days here. We can see total accumulated precipitation across much of our southern region was quite heavy at times. With the exception of parts of Texas, the last few storms really started in northern Texas, and the Panhandle went through Oklahoma, and then really blew up in eastern Texas before spreading across much of the lower Mississippi River Valley, and then yesterday and then into early this morning, spreading farther to the south and east. Some of these storms packed quite a punch. We've been looking this week all along at the severe weather out of them, but also some of them delivering quite a bit of very heavy rainfall as well. Now we look at this in the broader scheme of things. Yes, we've had repeated storm systems that have moved across the south, and we talked about this on Thursday, including all of that severe weather. But I did want to show you one thing that's quite interesting. This is a satellite-derived vegetation health index. So it's primarily based upon the NDVI, the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. And essentially, the closer you get to this side of the color spectrum down here, the greener stuff looks from space, the healthier it looks from space. And if we look overall, because of all of this rain, things are quite lush, if you will, down across the south. I see a lot of colors there that are in that 72 to 100 range, especially as you get into parts of central Texas and, I mean, really the whole of our southern region. Now, where we've had drought issues, we can see the effect of that. So notice there are some pockets right along the coast in through these areas, and then certainly down in southern Texas and over here in West Texas, which is interesting because of how wet things were in that part of western Texas earlier in the year. But we did get a brand new drought monitor update that just came out yesterday, so let's take a look at it. And we can see here that we have really improved the drought situation as you get down into southern and western Texas in places, but still right along the Gulf Coast, the longer term departures are significant. Now we do know that, as we get into this time of the year, our atmosphere's ability to contain enormous quantities of water in its thunderstorms could come through and erase drought in this area very, very quickly should some big thunderstorms just develop there over a week. But overall, let's see how much things have changed in the last month. So we can see the improvement down there in southern Texas. We can actually see some improvement in parts of northern Florida as well, while the southern 2/3 of the state of Florida is still dealing with degradation and drought over the last few weeks here, looking back over the last month. So just wanted to give you an update on what that was looking like. In the day-to-day, we're watching a wave that we talked about in yesterday's forecast finally emerging here in the Central Plains. And so we have an enhanced risk for some severe weather across parts of Oklahoma, eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and parts of Arkansas. And we still have the threat for some strong storms this morning as we watch the tail end of the front of the previous system race through central Florida. And the hope would be here for some good thunderstorm activity today across that area, minus the severe threat here, just adding some rainfall to a region that's quite parched. But I'm going to come in here and talk about the main severe weather threat that's going on in this section of the country. And I want to show you a forecast sounding. Now, this is, again, is how we like to view the data. But here's a few things I want to share with you. You see the dashed line, this one right here, okay? That dashed line represents the path through the atmosphere that a parcel would take. So we employ a method in meteorology called parcel theory. It helps us understand the ability for the air to rise. Now, when you look at these diagrams, what we're going to be watching for, one simple indicator is how much area is between that dashed white line and the red line, which represents the environmental temperature. The more area there is, the stronger the updraft. And the stronger the updraft, the bigger the threat is for hail. If you look at where the freezing level is in this as well, so we're going to have our freezing level be about right here. This means that the majority of the updraft of the storm will be be full of supercooled water and also have a really high top to it. So in other words, the base of the thunderstorm is going to be somewhere down about here, and it's going to rise up and then spread out vertically up there where the anvil is. So that's kind of a cross section of the storm. We can see that the wind shear is pretty good as well. We're going to have winds out of the south at the surface. They're going to turn quite a bit as you get up into the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. Thankfully, the winds are not that strong, though. Yeah, we do see 40 to 50 knot winds, but if we saw a hodograph look something a bit more like this, rather than what it's doing, which is down like that, this particular diagram would say we need to be on the lookout for massively rotating storms, a big outbreak. So our main threat today is going to be significant hail, large hail, plus strong straight line winds, and the chance for these storms to spin and produce severe storms. And let's just watch how these kind of unfold here by going to the high resolution rapid refresh model. So this is through midday today, so we can see that throughout the day today, Missouri, parts of Kansas, but take your eyes down to parts parts of Florida here. You can see that lingering front just slowly moving, bringing a lot of storms through the middle part of this day. It's in the afternoon and the evening where we really begin to destabilize in parts of eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas and eastern Texas. And you can see the forecast models blowing up the storms there between, let's just say, 5 o'clock through about 8 o'clock. That's what we're rocking back and forth between here. So we're going to watch that area, then into the overnight hours, press through parts of southern Missouri, Arkansas, into Louisiana. So these storms do have the potential for being quite strong. As we work our way into the overnight hours, they move into parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley over toward like Memphis, and then get down into Mississippi and Alabama. And then we're going to see this particular animation, the high resolution rapid refresh model, only runs out 36 hours here. So this only takes us through 1 p.m. on Saturday. So let's kind of take a look at where the severe weather threat shows up on Saturday as that front passes more to the east. So we can see we're going to target this area over here for having the greatest chance of seeing some strong to severe thunderstorms, which will be parts of the mid-Atlantic. To see how this all unfolds on the the European model, let me take you right to there. Let's go back to Saturday evening. So this is where our low pressure center is currently sitting right in this area. It's going to move over a little bit to the east with time here. And we can see that as it does so, that'll be the chance for those stronger storms moving into parts of the Carolinas and Virginia. Now watch this. Honestly, after Saturday morning, which is what you're looking at here, parts of the Delta region getting over to the southeast, we may get Sunday into Monday with high pressure, and then even into early on Tuesday without getting too much in the way of precipitation. It'll be during that time, though, that we're going to watch another low pressure system pulling into the northern part of the Corn Belt, fed on this high pressure cell that you see here, just pumping in the moisture and bringing in the heat, that we go ahead and destabilize the atmosphere again over a large sector of our southern region here. But what you saw was, honestly, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and most of Tuesday is going to be relatively dry. And I count that being 4 days, which is a nice break overall from what we have been seeing. So if we just take a look at where we're going with this next system, so this would be Tuesday afternoon and evening. This is where I'm worried about the severe weather threat over parts of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, eastern Texas, Oklahoma. That same area again, right in through here, as having more severe weather on Tuesday evening. From there, as we keep pressing forward, it just moves east again in the overnight hours. We get a quick shot at some cooler air, but this spreads by the time we get into Wednesday evening, again, over to, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. You can see the models really picking up on that chance for some severe weather. And that system moves through, and now we're at the end of April. And this is where the pattern change we've been discussing comes in. So look at this again. If you are in the Delta region, after the storms move through next Wednesday morning, you get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe into Sunday, Monday, where things are relatively dry. So we just keep getting about every 4 to 5 days a big shot at getting severe weather. But we've got stretches in here where I think field work is going to be getting done, and we're going to get moving on getting a crop in. So from there, let's just watch the precipitation accumulate here. So if we just play this forward, this is now looking out throughout the day, today into tomorrow, and we can see that through Saturday, midday, where we've accumulated most of our precipitation is going to be with those storms that move through Oklahoma and Arkansas up into Missouri, and then down here in Florida, where we kind of talked about a few moments ago. So dry. Look at this. I mean, I'm all the way out to Sunday into Monday morning. This is Monday afternoon, and now we're getting into Tuesday. That's the next system that comes through there. So you can see that through, this is almost 4 days here. There's a big section of our southern region that skirts away from having widespread rainfall, which is welcomed. But then what we notice is system comes in on Tuesday, and it races through. And then as I let this play out just a week from now to get all the way to next Friday, that's really our big system next week that we need to be talking about. So just to show you, though, how robust this is, the main low pressure cell sitting here is well forecast not only by the operational model but by the ensembles as well. And you can see it linking up with the secondary region of lower pressure there. So the flow is going to come in and do something like that, which is why we're going to watch this area most carefully for severe storms once we get into next Tuesday evening. And just to kind of illustrate that finally, this is from our own severe thunderstorm index, and you see that same district right in through there under the gun for some severe storms next Tuesday evening. So I just want to hammer that point home. Now, If you'd like to see what the atmosphere is going to do in 1 second, here it is. That's your next 15 days. But let's take a look at some of the details here. Ready? So trough that comes sweeping in next week, right there. See, it's going to come right out of the northwest. It's going to dive down. That's your Tuesday storm, okay? Now, I want to get to the longer term, though, because we see that by next Thursday, we then get ourselves into that highly amplified pattern I've been talking about, which is this trough here and the deeper trough over on this side of the country. This brought in the warmth out here in the western part of the United States, and it's going to change the pattern up quite a bit. But I want you to look at my model notes over there on the left. You see beyond this, watch what the European does. It goes out to May 2nd, May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th, and it just slowly washes out that trough in the Gulf of Alaska. See it? It just kind of goes away. Now, this could be because the European model has 51 separate members, but it just wants to go right over to almost some zonal flow with something like that on the northern branch and the southern branch doing this. If that is the case and we lose the amplitude of this jet stream pattern, well, then what I say is we go into the beginning of May with, honestly, a relatively benign pattern. What would be not benign, what would be chaotic, would be if the jet stream did this. If we got that look to it, then we'd be in serious trouble, but it doesn't seem to be advertising that. Well, at least the European doesn't. The GFS wants to do something a bit more like this. And if it gets its way and drops that trough here where the European is not seeing it, that's going to be a major change for the week 2 precipitation pattern. So here's the difference. This is from the European model. This is, again, May 1st through May 8th. And then this is the GFS. Dropping that trough like this and pulling it in this direction, look at what it does. There it is. That is the super active pattern for almost the whole of the Corn Belt, stretching from Texas clear up to Illinois and then back out to the Dakotas, whereas the southeast goes under ridge and gets dry and hot. So the models are spreading dramatically here and into the first week of May, and I think we just need to watch it right now. Usually the European is much more steady. And it tends to be a better performer than the GFS, but we're going to watch it nonetheless. Let's talk temperatures as we wrap up this forecast video. What I'm going to play for you here is maximum high temperatures in the numbers. The color coding tell you departure from normal. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, it's a little bit out of our southern region forecast. I'll save this for the west. We've got 100-degree heat, expected down in the southwest. So as we work our way from Friday here, high temperatures into Saturday, this is the cool down coming behind that system rolling through. So we can see temperatures. I mean, it's going to be beautiful, 70s. We love 70s, but we should be about 8 or 9 degrees warmer than that in parts of Texas and Oklahoma. So we see that on Sunday, the real cool air is tucked away up in the northeast, but then working our way from Sunday into Monday, start to see some moderation out west, cooler weather compared to average over the southeast. Then as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we see much of that same pattern hanging on as the jet stream in the near term to finish April and start May wants to do this, right? So we can see that by looking out at days 6 through 10 from the GFS model here. Look at the warmth out west and the cooler swath here across the eastern part of the United States. European over there on the right agrees with it. And this is taken out to day 11 through 15. Now remember, this is where the pattern is getting flatter and less well-defined. So I'm just going to tell you, we'll take a look at it now. I'll watch it over the weekend and I'll report back to you if I see many differences here. There is something I want to talk to you about very briefly at the end of this video. You're looking now at what's called velocity potential. And if you've been watching my weather videos for a while, you know I like to talk about this, especially when it comes to hurricane development. All right, wherever you see the cooler colors, that represents where the atmosphere is just better able to exhaust at the upper levels. We have upper level outward flow there. So we've seen that in the near term here, so April 25th through about May 1st, that area is right over here just off the coast of Africa. That's why our MJO is stuck in phase 1, 2, and 3. But you can almost see that this wave in the upper levels does move here by the time we get into the end of the first week of May. And I'm just going to tell you something. You often remember that sometimes in the month of May, we can get these very early season, they're not quite tropical, they're almost subtropical in nature systems that blow up, somewhere in the western Atlantic basin. That includes the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the western Atlantic. I just want to let you know that this might be one of those years where we watch for something like that to happen, just because the atmosphere is going to be conducive to it. And we remember from earlier this week our discussion about how warm those water temperatures are over the Gulf of Mexico. So I just want to make you aware of it. I'm not giving this a high probability of happening. It's just the atmosphere saying, hey, if you want to let this happen, the atmosphere is at least making it easier. But to finish up, I do want to show you the long-range outlook from May 7 to June 7. We notice that the models are not really picking up on a temperature pattern that's well established here, so washing things out toward average. But you can see, once again, the above-average precipitation amounts across most of our southern region here. Now, just remember that when we look at this over an entire month and we see that we're looking at a surplus of a half inch to an inch, that's not like we're talking about, Noah Ark building, flooding kind of issues here. But this is just saying calming the pattern down in the European model right now doesn't seem to be a mainstay in its flow pattern. That's all I'm trying to point out here. I got a lot to learn about this model and its abilities to predict things out this far. We're going to do some assessment over the weekend, and I'll report back to you on Monday, all right? Have a good one. I'll talk to you then. Thank you.